You're reading in public. Oh, hello.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
No pressure.
Shabbat Shalom.
No pressure.
Ya da 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 ya da da ya da 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 dum ba da dum ba da da ya da 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 ya ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da dum ba da dum ba da da ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 yamba yamba ya da da dum ba da 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 ya da 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 ya da da dum ba da 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 ya da dum ba da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya dum ba da dum ba da da ya da 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 ya da da da
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our Shabbat morning service, to the first Hama'alot service we've done in quite a while. Although according to our sheets in front of us, this service is not called Hama'alot, but Hama'ulot, which I'll take, because that means the excellent things. The excellent feminines. Hama'ulot. Hama'ulot. Hama'alot is a highly curated 90-minute service based on the traditional Shabbat morning service that has elements of Sukkot Zimra and Shacharit and Torah reading. It's the service we do in Temple Beth Am that takes the most amount of license vis-a-vis the traditional liturgy, and we hope and believe that that sacrifice is worth the impact that we're going to experience together with music, with rhythm, with words, and with themes that we hope have an influence on you as you spend this Shabbat, the 49th day of the Omer, as we anticipate the giving of Torah at Shavuot. So we welcome you. The service grows and builds as people contribute their voices and their spirits, and we're in nature, so we have sounds around us that we neither can control nor should we seek to eliminate from our consciousness. They're part of this experience. The birds tweeting, even the trucks going down the street. We are Jews in the real world, and our spirituality is in the real world, and the Shabbat morning service is prayed in the real world. Ya
Number 1 on your sheets, or number 1 on your sheets. Emet, 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 emet. Emet atahu rishon, ve'atahu acharon, umi baladecha. Emet atahu rishon, ve'atahu acharon, umi baladecha. Ein lanu melech, ein lanu goel, u'Moshiach, u'Moshiach. Emet atahu rishon, ve'atahu acharon, umi baladecha. Emet atahu rishon, ve'atahu acharon, umi baladecha. Emet, 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 emet.
In about 19 hours, some of us will be in this exact spot, having spent the night involved in Torah study and greeting the sunrise with tefillah. And maybe we'll even include this following nigun, which was composed with the title "The Sunrise Nigun," appropriate for greeting the new day. Ya-da-da-ya-ya, ya-ba-ba-ba-ba-yo. Ya-da-da-ya-ya, ya-da-da-ya-ya, ya-da-da-ya-ya.
We're dancing around the idea of the core liturgy of Pesukei de Zimra, which is a warm-up before we just dive into tefillah. Now we turn, if you're looking at your Siddur, to page 136, or if you're at home, 96 or 81. It's also song number 2 on our sheets, the close of Ashrei, the promise that together we will bless God. And we say this word that resonates through the generations. Hallelujah. V'anachnu nevarech Yah me'ata v'yad olam, me'ata v'yad olam, me'ata v'yad olam. Hallelujah. 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 Again, backing out of the formal liturgy of Pesukei de Zimra, we turn in just a moment to Lev Tahor, which comes from Psalm 51. Same book of Psalms, but it wasn't fixed here in our liturgy. Instead, we introduce it, and we introduce it as a kavanah to prayer. I want to offer up a question for consideration as we enter Lev Tahor as a song and as a prayer collectively. We often translate, just as it is here on the sheet, Lev Tahor as a pure heart. But Tumah and Tahara, which are ancient categories brought to us first by the Torah, are not so precisely translated as impure and pure. Instead, I offer up to you the translation of unready and ready. Tahara is a category, a status that someone can either reach or achieve through ritual, of ritual readiness. We get ourselves ready to approach sacred places. In order to enter sanctity, we ourselves have to prepare ourselves in some way. When we get to the Torah service today, we'll offer one idea of how to actually enter ourselves to receive Torah in a ready state. But here I ask of you, when you think of your heart as being a ready heart, What readiness are you asking the universe to help issue you, to help you grasp, to be prepared for? What do you want your heart, which in the ancient world was the seat of wisdom, and in our conception is the seat of deep and abounding love? What do you want that heart to be ready for?
Lev tahor berali Elohim beruach nachon chadesh bekirbi Lev tahor berali Elohim veruach nachon chadesh bekirbi al tashlicheni milfanecha veruach kodshecha al tikach mimeni al tashlicheni milfanecha veruach kodshecha al tikach mimeni lev tahor berali Elohim veruach nachon chadesh bekirbi lev tahor berali Elohim veruach nachon chadesh bekirbi al tashlicheni milfanecha veruach kodshecha al tikach mimeni al tashlicheni milfanecha veruach kodshecha al tikach mimeni.
Turn to Psalm number 5. If you're following along in the Siddur, we're on 139 or 99 or 86.
Hallelujah. 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 Adonai min hashamayim. Hallelujah. B'meromim. Hallelujah. Chol malachav. Hallelujah. Kol tzivarav. Hallelujah. Shemesh ve'yareach. Hallelujah. Kol koch ve'yor. Hallelujah. Shmei hashamayim ve'amayim. Asher me'al hashamayim. Yeah, hallelujah. Et Shem Adonai ki utzila b'nibrao. Raya amidem le'ad le'olam. Chok natan v'lo yavor. Yeah, hallelujah. Et Shem Adonai ki utzila b'nibrao. Raya amidem le'ad le'olam. Chok natan v'lo yavor. Hallelujah.
number 4 on your sheets or page. 145 or page 104 or page 334. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu
Psuke de Zimra, the words mean verses of song or praise, but their purpose is to get us ready, as was mentioned before, for tefillah. And anything of merit and of significance ought not be jumped into, whether it's physical exercise or spiritual exercise or emotional exercise. Warm-ups are needed. So I hope that our hearts are warmed up and ready to combine our minds and our spirits into a prayer experience that will connect us to the divine and connect us to one another and to the themes that are swirling today. And speaking of themes that are swirling, we've been spending some time over the last few weeks at Temple Beth Am focusing on notions of sanctity, holiness, words that we use a lot in English and often don't mean what they probably originally meant in Hebrew. We've been teaching on Shabbat afternoons from a Hartman Institute curriculum that will have the front page of our Shavuot experience tonight. At the plenary session, we'll be teaching one final session of that curriculum. And it's been focusing on sanctity of time, sanctity of space, and sanctity in its own realm. So what we're going to do is combining together some of that momentum from the last few weeks and thinking about the Kedusha as the centerpiece of a Shacharit service, and particularly the words Kadosh, 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 where we imitate the angels and go up on our tippy toes and try to reach a higher plane. We're going to be davening Shacharit in the following way. And Shacharit is the part of this Hama'alot service, again, where we take some halachic license in exchange for a sense of meaning. Normally, we do not pause in between the Baruch Hu and the Amidah, except to say Amen, because we want that tefillah to be continuous. And we're going to rely on the rabbinic notion of Me'ein HaBracha, to say within the context of a blessing words that help bring out and enlighten and illuminate that blessing. So in a moment, Rabbi Chorny is going to begin Shacharit, which you'll use your Siddur for, because the pages are, we don't have all the words of Shacharit on our Shiron, but if you just want to use the Shiron, all the things that we're going to be saying out loud are there. In between the Baruch Hu and the first bracha, we're going to sing a nigun. In between the first bracha and the Shema, that nigun again. Between the Shema and the third nigun and the third bracha, that nigun again. And we're going to pause several times to talk about holiness itself, to talk about holiness that's attributed to space, and to do an exercise that I hope that you'll participate in that tries to draw out the holiness and the uniqueness of time. So with that in mind, I ask you to rise for the Baruch Hu, after which you may be seated.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Evaid.
Yadaram dayo, yababababyo, yadadayo, 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 yadadadayo, yadadayo, 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 yo, 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 yadadayo, 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 yadadayo.
When we try to translate Kof Dalit Shin, Kadosh, Kiddush, Kedusha, sanctity. The question is sanctity inherent or is sanctity applied? Is something sacred by nature or is something sacred because we set out to make it sacred, either by God's instruction or of our own will? I offer up this idea that emanates from some of the teachings that we studied regarding the sanctity of space. This idea is that something is sanctified, something is made kadosh by being set apart, but not only set apart. Something is made sacred when we set something apart and we elevate it. Kedusha, sanctity, is the setting apart of an object, sometimes a person, as beneath the chuppah, and sometimes a place or a time like Shabbat. But it's not just different than the rest of time or the rest of space. It's different and elevated. This, by the way, is also true of ritual. Our life is full of routine. It's full of things that we do regularly, sometimes regularly on an annual basis, or even we think of it regularly like a fixed time of graduation at the end of the year. But the way that we sanctify it is through ritual, by taking that thing and elevating it. Just as when we reach those words, Kadosh, 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 together, we rise on our toes, reminding us that we set something apart and we lift it up, we elevate it through ritual, through togetherness, and through, sometimes, its inherent sense of sacredness. Or Chadash, Al Tzihon Tahir, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
da ba 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 yo. Ya da 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 yo. Ya da da yo. Ya da da no. Ya da da yo. Ya da da do. Ya da da yo. We started planning the service. We had expected the service to take place in the sanctuary. But if we've learned anything in this era, it's that don't expect anything and don't plan anything. And we're so delighted to be doing this outdoors. But when we were going to be doing it in the sanctuary, we thought about how to address the notion of kedushat makom, the sanctity, the separateness, the holiness of space, particularly in that space, the sanctuary. And so we asked our architect, Steve Reininger, to compose a poem, a letter addressed to the space itself, to anthropomorphize the space as if it were a being, as if it had a reality, a consciousness. What would we say to it as one of the spaces on our campus that most exemplifies this community's definition or attempt to define a space which is sacred and different? So I want to ask you all to close your eyes and imagine you're in the new sanctuary. And picture its shape and the light and the features that stand out to you. And as you're picturing it, I'm going to read the words of its designer as he addressed the very space that he brought into being. He entitled it Sanctuary Song. May we sit with you, our sanctuary, in peace. Raise us up through song, listening, and reflection to life. Spread over us a shawl of light, a shelter of peace, directing our souls and hearts toward goodness. May we lift our eyes across your ribs of pews onto each other, shoulder to shoulder, and onto glowing, effervescent tablets rising from sand. May we lift our thoughts toward trees of life, dancing leaves, dappled light, and embracing arcs of pressed sand impressed with Torah. May God dwell inside you and cradle us. May God's light pour through your apertures into our spirits and be gracious unto us. May you lift us up closer to God, closer to justice, closer to everything, and may we be granted peace. Ya-da-da-na, ya-da-da, ya-da-da-ya-yo, ya-da-da-ya-yo, yo-yo-yo, ya-da-da-na, yo, ya-da-da-ya-yo, hi-da-da-ya-yo, hi-da-da-ya-yo.
בקרב תהילים שמך גדול סלע באמת, להודות לך על יחידך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Going on the definition of kadosh as being separate, distinct, unique, unlike anything else, there may be nothing else in our reality more kadosh than time. There's nothing that we can compare time to. Some physicists even wonder if it exists. There are physicists and anthropologists who work together who wonder if time is truly a construct of our minds, a response to the emotion of fear, the fear as we think about the expanse of the universe, and the sense that something has to be in order, and in order for there to be order, there has to be a progression. In order for there to be a progression, there has to be time. So whether time exists or time is a mirage, which itself I know is a weird sentence to say, there's nothing like it. And yet our conception of it dominates everything. There's no moment in time, pun intended, in which we are not claimed by it or claimed by our understanding of it. And so it's kadosh, even if it can be terrifying. One of the most profound exercises I ever participated in, which I remember almost minute by minute, even though it was over 2 decades ago, was at a retreat of rabbis that was being led by a man by the name of Peter Pitzley, who is the creator of the method called bibliodrama. And he's phenomenally skilled in short prompts with no or almost no props, and allowing all the things that are churning inside of us to come out. And here's the exercise that he did that I want us to do in miniature together. We were sitting in a circle. He put a chair in the center of the circle. And he said, sitting on that chair is time. Speak to it. That was the only prompt. And about 4 hours later, we knew something deeper about ourselves and about one another and about time. So I want us to imagine that time is in the center of this table. And without having any idea what you could possibly say if you were addressing time in the second person, after I do my own attempt, which I also don't know what I'm going to say, I invite a few people to speak to time directly. And we'll see what's swirling around in our minds and hearts as we think about this thing that is most unique and therefore most kadosh. As we're about to say the words in the Kedusha of Yimloch Adonai Leolam Elohai Tzion Lador Vador Hallelujah, that God will rule, will reign for all time, whatever that means, from generation to generation. And so as I'm looking at you, time, conjuring you, I would say that I am made nervous by the fact that you're the only thing that we really not just want, but need more of, but can never get. There is no way to get more of you. And to strip away all other things that we desire, there's actually nothing that we desire more than more of you. And so you confound me. And I know you will for the rest of my life. Anyone else?
A line from Craig Taubman's song, Kiddushel, comes to mind. When you're young, you think of futures. When you're old, you think of pasts. Another line that immediately comes to mind is Psalm 90, Limnot Yameinu Kein Hoda, V'navi Lavav Chachma, to count our days. May you inform us. May you enable us to count our days so that we have a heart of wisdom, so that, and may I say, Yehi Noam Adonai Eloheinu Aleinu, may the peace of the Lord our God be with us. May the work of our hands last beyond us. And may the work of our hands be lasting. That, I think, is a really human desire. It's found in people's names on buildings. It's found in copyrights. It's found in all kinds of things where we know that we are fleeting, but we hope that whatever we do will last beyond us.
Anyone else want to imagine time in the center and speaking directly to it? Speak to time.
Simon and Garfunkel. Slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last. Skipping down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. I learned that in 6th grade.
Anyone else want to speak to time? Marshall.
Well, actually, Rabbi Dorff sort of gave an introduction to what I wanted to say, since today is Chana's birthday. So really, Linot Yomenu Kein Hodat, teach us to number our days, or to really teach our days, time to be precious. Right. For purposes of what? Earning money? No. Navi Levav Chochma, to gain a heart of wisdom. And hopefully, that's what all of us will be able to get out of you time. Not only the length of time, but make the time precious itself.
One more.
My friend Jackie over here sent me and another friend a tweet this week that said being Jewish is essentially coming up to another holiday and being shocked that it's happening again. And just thinking about this year at Beth Am that started with Shavuot, it is kind of astounding that we're coming into it again. And so to time that it feels a little bit like it never ended Shavuot before, and we're just kind of living in the constant Shavuot or the constant Monday or the constant Rosh Chodesh or whatever it may be, that there's a connectedness that even though we think we're just moving through and around, that actually it never really left.
Ya na 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 ya da da ya da da ya yo ya na na ya ya da da ya yo ya na 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 ya da da ya da da ya na na ya ya na na ya.
Tzur Yisrael, Kuma b'Yisrael Yisrael, U'v'dechinu lecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. צומח נופלים והופך חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיי, מצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וכרזה אל זה ואמר,
קדוש קדוש אדוני
קדוש קדוש אדוני צבאות מלוך הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק, משמיעים קול, מתנסים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו לעולם בעת תשכון. תיכתב ותקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. בעינינו תראינה מלכותך, דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם עלייך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. nay, nay, yo. Yay, nay, 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 ho. Yay, nay, 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 ho.
Kaddish Shalem.
Yikadav, yikadash mirapah,
Amen.
Nehamat yivrach yirtevim lich, malchut hebecheichon v'mechon v'cheidecho beit Yisrael, v'galav yizman kari v'himeru.
Amen. Yehish me'rabba mevorach, le'olam le'amei hamaya yitbarach.
Yitbarach, v'shabach, v'itbar, v'shamah, v'yitnaseh, v'tadar, v'talei, v'talal, shemei kutcha,
B'richu.
b'richu lecha, v'incho berchata v'shirata, shishvachata v'nechamata, damiram b'yama v'himeru.
Amen.
Tikabat salat honu to Chol Yisrael. Kadam avon v'ishmai v'himeru. Amen. Yehish lama rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim alinu v'chol Yisrael v'himeru. Amen. Ose shalom b'imroma. Huyase shalom aleinu. V'chol Yisrael v'himeru. Amen. In just a moment, we'll open the ark and we'll take the Torah out and read from it for 3 aliyot. Again, it's license that we take in order to enhance the Kedusha, the sanctity, and also the creativity of this service. And we'll share as we reach each aliyah what we're honoring with each of those aliyot. We begin, if you'd like to follow along in your Siddur, you can follow along on page 168.
Kuma
Adonai v'yafutu.
On the bottom.
Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udevar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'dushato, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udvar Adonai meYerushalayim, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udvar Adonai meYerushalayim, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udvar Adonai meYerushalayim, ayanai nanai ayarararara, adanai nanai ayarararara. If you want to grab a chumash, we're going to be reading from the beginning of Parshat Bamidbar in just a moment. Before we even call the Olim to the Torah, I'm going to share a few words. Just give me a second. It's no small thing to be a human and be a student and somehow present with confidence and poise and a self-effacement that suggests that you're just at the beginning of a journey. I think it's a challenge for all of us throughout life, but it's particularly a challenge when you're in an apprenticing situation. And I'm speaking here about and to David and to Jackie and in absentia to Julia, who for the last year, under odd circumstances in this continued indoor-outdoor pandemic of presence and absence, and in an internship/residency that we design really rather intentionally to have it be intense and a bit overwhelming from the very beginning, because we want you to taste when the stakes are low, what it's like to be out there and really obligated to people's lives and really obligated to a community's moments. So we're asking you to step into those moments with a full sense of self, that you can do this and that you not only will be, but in some ways already are a rabbi. And we're also asking you at the same time to come to the table and come to our meetings and come to the community, really with no self-loathing, but in a sense saying to yourself that I actually know nothing yet. Because it's true, and this is not an insult to you, it's a statement to anyone in your position. You know nothing yet about what it's actually like to serve the Jewish community full time. I still know nothing yet. I want to praise the two of you before I call you up for this aliyah through the prism of a classic midrash on the opening lines of Parshat Bamidbar. A midrash which tries to answer the question, why is it significant that the Torah, that enlightenment, that God's word, that revelation took place in a place of nothing, Bamidbar. Midbar means wilderness. It has in the word, davar, or thing, but it means a barren place, a place where nothing is yet. So a place of zero, but a place of possibility. A place that's frighteningly empty, but also wonderfully filled with the imagination of what could be. And I want to praise the 2/3 of you, Julia, if you're watching somewhere, for coming to receive and give Torah, being willing to turn yourself into a midbar. The Midrash says, who can acquire Torah? Someone who's willing to make themselves hefker, as ownerless, as without stuff, as the desert itself. If you come to Torah with a sense that it can imprint upon you a new way of being and a new way of experiencing reality, it has a chance of penetrating. If you come to Torah assuming that you're going to teach it something, then it's not a spiritual exercise. Balancing that with a confidence to stand in front of people in moments that matter and bring this very Torah to them is really, really hard. And you both have done it really, really well. You've stood up in moment after moment and taught from a tradition that you're on the road to being a master of. And you've done it with a sense of humility and curiosity about feedback and a recognition that the Torah is just beginning to have its impact on the type of person and rabbi you're going to be. So for your willingness to make yourself hefker, ownerless, empty, a tabula rasa, so that the Torah, and in some ways Temple Beth Am, and our own ideas could come and plant themselves upon you, and simultaneously, for your ability to do that, while having the strength of character to enrich people's lives in moments that matter this year. We honor you, we celebrate you, we're so excited for you for next year in Israel, we will miss you, and we know you'll come back both more robustly confident and yet more aware of how little you know now about yourself and Torah compared to what you might know in the future if you're willing to stay in that hefker place. Mazel tov on a tremendous year of learning and growth and teaching at Temple Beth Am. V'yazor v'gim v'shalachol chosim bo v'nomar amen hakol havu goloheinu chabod la Torah yahamdu Lina Shendel Bat Shimon Zevasar Aviet David Abraham Ben Melech Rivka Li'ari Shana Baruch Shanatan Torah Li'moshe B'Kedushato Batem Bad Bikim Lo'echem Chaim Kolchem Ayom.
Adonai Barak Le'olam Vayit.
העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
אמן. וידבר אדוני אל משה במדבר סיני באוהל מועד באחד לחודש השני בשנה השנית לצאתם מארץ מצרים לאמור שאו את ראש כל עדת בני ישראל למשפחותם לבית אבותם במספר השמות כל זכר לגולגלותם מבין 20 שנה ומעלה כל יוצא צבא בישראל תפקדו אותם לציב אותם אתה ואחרון ואיתכם יהיו איש איש למטה איש ראש לבית אבותיו
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Ta'amot. Marnina Hava. Bat Ephraim Eliyahu. Verina Lalia Hashniha. Marnie, I'm going to speak to you. I'm speaking to you as Marnie, but I'm also speaking to you as the parent of a child who is graduating kindergarten, and you know what it means to move on up to kids on the second floor of this building. What an amazing transition. I want to say these words of Torah very briefly before you take the Aliyah so that you can perhaps bring a little bit of intentionality to the grasping and lifting up. Within that notion of hefker, within that notion of Torah being a gift, rabbis in the Talmud noticed that one of the places that is noted in a journey past the 22nd chapter is that we journey to a place called Matana. And when we go to Matana, it can't just mean to the rabbis going to a place whose name happened to be the Hebrew word for gift. And so in Talmud, in Nedarim, what the rabbis explain is that it must be that when someone makes themselves hefker and open to all of those things, as Rabbi Kligfeld described, that one can take in when you make yourself into a blank slate and truly are ready to receive, then the Torah comes to you as a gift. I like to take that as the Torah comes to you anyway, if the Torah is coming to you, but then you'll receive Torah as a gift. I know that you're somebody who intentionally creates a home, and as a teacher at Pressman Academy, also creates that kind of a slate for every student, making it possible for them to become like the Midbar, to become mufkar, to become open to it. And so as you grasp the Torah in anticipation of your aliyah and say those words in the blessing, notein ha-Torah, know that God gives Torah, but when you make yourself open to it, and even more so when you help others to be open to it, then you receive Torah as a gift. We're at the second aliyah, page 770, if you're 770, following along on in the Chumash. We're on verse 5.
I'd like to take the opportunity to do a little trope talk, just a second or two. The trope of the day to me is Zakef Gadol. In the next Aliyah, we've got 9 of them. It's the most in any Aliyah that I know of. In any little piece of Torah, you got 9 Zakef Gadols. It looks like a line with 2 dots next to it above the word. So you'll see them all there. So to me, 9 wasn't a very satisfying number. It's not very Jewish. So I looked for the 10th one, 10 commandments, 10 people for a minyan. The closest one, I'll tell you where it is. It's on page 757. So looking for the 10th one, I'm going to stop talking. I want to see your reaction to looking for the 10th one, page 757. It's back in Leviticus. You have to go past the Haftorahs, but that's what I wanted to say about that. On top of page 757.
Your curiosity is boundless.
All Zakif Gadols that stand alone and all that.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamavorah. Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chol banu migol ha'amim v'natan lanu et haTorah. Baruch Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Ve'ele shmot anashim asher yamdu itchem liReuven Elitzur ben Shireur leShimon Shelumiel ben Surishadai liYehuda Nachshon ben Aminadav leYisachar Netanel ben Suar liZvulun Eliav ben Chelon livnei Yosef Lephraim Elishama ben Amihud Lemenashe Gamliel ben Pedatsur Levinyamin Avidan ben Gidoni Ledan Achiezer ben Amishadai Leasher Pagiel ben Ochran Legad Eliasaph ben Duel Lenaftali Achira ben Enan Ele Krue Aida Nesiei Matot Avotam Rashi Alfei Yisrael Hem.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chai olam natan b'tochinu. Baruch Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ta'amod hechazan Michal Aviva Bat Levin Lema La'aliyah Hashlishit.
We'll pause and say Mishberach for Cholim, so we can pray for all those whom we know and love who are struggling with illness. And hopefully the prayer itself and their knowing or imagining that we're saying the prayer brings them a sense of uplift and healing. Mishaberach Avotenu, Aram Yitzchak v'Yakov, Imotenu, Sarivka Rachel B'Leah, Yivarech, v'Rapeh kol ha'cholim v'kol ha'cholot b'kila k'tosha hazod. As the Haviyafa, but Esther, but Rivka, but Pesha, but Yosef, ben Achmed, ben Gittel, Yehuda, ben Abraham, ben Sarah, but Ben Zion, ben Gittel, ben Elena, Kramer, but Cyril Chana, but Sivya, but Risa Chana, but Chasya, Geula, but Yehuda, Yisrael, ben Leah, but Mordechai, ben Esther, but Yehuda, but Rivka, but Dani, ben Yamim, Tovin, Reed, but Michael Kwenko, but Tybal, but Rachel Leah, but Yeshua, ben Shendel, but Badileh, but Chaya, but Kirach, but Shulamit, Pesa, but Yitzchak, Elimelech, but Yosef Simcha, ben Sarah Chana, but David Yosef, ben Rivka, but Supar, Liba, but Esther Chana, but Tybal, but Chaya, but Chana Zahava, but Sarah Freda, but Aiden Ezra Chaim, ben Dvora, but Tova, but Leah, but Shimon ben Chaya, but Dalia bat Leah, but Dreisel bat Yisrael, but Malka bat Masi, but Liron bat Ilan ben Chedva, but Anel Morales, but Oded ben Ilana, but Aharon, but Harab Eliezer ben Chaya, et Michael Zero. Kol HaCholim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yimalei Rachmim Alehem Lachzikam L'Rapotam, Yishlach Lehem Meirafuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Fot HaNefesh Fot HaGuf B'toch Sh'ar HaCholim, V'chazek Yedidei Oskim B'tzorcheihem, Shabbat Yim L'Zok Refuah Krova Lavo, Hashta B'Galav Izman Kariv, V'nomar Amen. Oy Rabbanu Sha'olam, Allah Kranken mention to have been a Refuah Shlema.
Amen. We continue with the third Aliyah, verse 17 on page 771. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, I saw that.
This makes me very nervous. Amen.
Amen. ויקח משה ואהרון את האנשים האלה אשר נקבו בשמות וכל העדה הקהילו באחד לחודש השני וילדו משפחותם לבית אבותם במספר שמות מבין 20 שנה ומעלה לגולגולתם כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה ויפקדם במדבר סיני.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם אתה בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. I'm going to call the lifter and rapper of the Torah now. I didn't yet assign it, but I had some people in mind. Josh, would you be our Magbia, please? Oh, you've been tapped. Okay, great. Yamod HaMagbia. Did you tap with the lower?
I did not.
Chana, in honor of your birthday, can I invite you forward to rap?
I'm sorry, I gave it
Oh, you give it away already. Sorry. Well, we can have two rappers. That's fine.
We have two,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
we
come.
can have three.
Good. Come on up.
Everybody can rap.
Everybody rap.
We're going to do that first.
Just not everyone.
Yeah, I'm going to do this first. Before we lift and wrap the Torah, there's one Misha Berach before we lift and wrap a Torah. One thing that we noticed about this time of year is that somehow, we don't know how it happens at this season. This is a season of transitions, not just for graduation. There are lots of people who are graduating here. There are people who are ending their time in a particular position. And there are people who are making other transitions, perhaps to new homes, or perhaps helping someone else transition into a new home, like a parent. If you are marking one of those transitions, I want to invite you to rise at this time as I offer this Misha Berach, where Cantor Michelle Stone will stand in for all those who are experiencing a transition of life, so that we can bless you that transition be litova, that it should be for goodness and should be experienced in goodness. מי שאמר לאבינו לך לך, ומי שציווה לעניו לאמור לישורון, והלכת בדרכיו, ומי שלחש לאהובתו, קומי לך רעייתי ולכי לך. יברך אותך החזן מיכל אביבה, בת לאה ולבה. ליבו בדרך בה תלכי, ויהימך בכל הצעדים בם תלכי. ברגעים אשר אחריתם סמויה מן העין, וברגעים בהם הדרך בטוחה. תמימה תהי עם אדוני אלוהיך בכל צעדייך, למען תשכילי בכל אשר תלכי אדוני ישמרך. ויצילך מכל צרה וצוקה, ויהי מסעך לשלום, ותבואי למחוז חפצך בשלום, וכן יהי רצון, ונאמר Amen. May the one who told our ancestor to go forth, the one who commanded the humble one to tell Yeshurun, walk in God's paths, the one who whispered to the lover, rise up, my beloved, and come away, bless you, Cantor Michelle Stone, and also all those who join you in your journeys, and be with you in every step you take in the times when consequences are hidden from your eyes, and in those moments when the path is clear. May you remain true to God throughout, that wherever you go, you may find success. May God protect you from all troubles and sorrow. May you journey in peace, and may you arrive at your heart's fulfillment in peace. So may it be God's will. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. We all rise and turn towards the Torah as it's lifted and wrapped.
Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael afi Adonai
B'yad Moshe Eitz Chaim hi lamachzikim ba v'tomech ha'meushar עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכה מאושר תרחך את דרכי נועם בכל נתיבותיה
בכל נתיבותיה שלום יא 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 ניי 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 יא ניי ניי יא ניי ניי יא ניי יא ניי ניי יא יא ניי ניי יא ניי ניי יא
Page 184. Ben Ashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Hashiveinu Hashiveinu Adonai Elecha Ben Ashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Oh Chadesh 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 Yameinu
So, I'm a really big preparer. I like to prepare a lot. Coming up on a 3-day Yontiv, I spend weeks looking through cookbooks and making lists. I love lists. I make my list of what I'm going to make. I make my grocery lists, and then I make my list of when I'm going to make what I'm going to make. So what's going to be made on Thursday, what's going to be made on Friday. I love to prepare. I also love to prepare for vacations. Love, love, love. The whole process of preparing for the vacation, the making the reservations, the doing the research on what to do in the destination. It's all part of the process, right? It elongates the joy of the vacation. The vacation may last 4 days, a week, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe some of us are lucky to go to Israel for a few weeks in the summer and get to like really experience it. But the planning takes way more time than the vacation. And I love that because it elongates the experience of the vacation. You have the anticipation, the excitement, things to look forward to. So the vacation is not 4 days or 1 week or a couple weeks. The vacation becomes the months of planning that lead up to it. I was really struck this week because Rabbi Klickfeld said something to me earlier this week that really spoke to me. He said that it's interesting that the Omer, the counting of the Omer, is so much longer than the destination. The destination is Shavuot. We're counting the days, the 49 days, the 50 days where we count to the 49th day between Passover and Shavuot. But this time period of counting the Omer is really long. And Shavuot is only 1 day, 2 days in the diaspora, but it really is supposed to be a one-day experience. So I thought it was really interesting to think about how that time period is really very much a preparation. Tonight we're going to stand again at Sinai, receive Torah once again, like we do every year at this time of year. But we have this gift, this counting of the Omer, which we are finishing today, and has been this time of preparation. Now, the Omer has taken many different forms through the time period. In the Torah, it's really an agricultural marking. In the time of the rabbis, it became a period of mourning because there were a lot of tragic events that happened in this time of year. But the Kabbalists, and then later the founders of Hasidism, really took it to a totally different place. They took it to an opportunity for spiritual and inner work, to look at ourselves and try to help us realize our potential. How can we be the best person that we can be? We can take these 49 days of the counting of the Omer and really do the inner work to better ourselves, so that when we stand again at Sinai, as we do every year, and receive Torah, we are a changed person. We have become someone different in this period. Whether or not you have counted the Omer or counted the Omer in the way that the Kabbalists and the Hasidim imagined it, we have more time. There are a few more hours before we stand at Sinai again. But it was just something that I thought was very inspiring to think about what the preparation is for standing at Sinai. We do this in Judaism, right? That's what the whole month of Elul is. This what this period of time is. We spend time preparing, and that preparation is always longer than the experience. The whole month of Elul to lead to the 10 days of repentance, right? The 49 days leading to the 1 to 2 day moment of revelation. And so I just thought it was food for thought as we come to the end of this period and enter the next period, to think what are the things we prepare for in life. How do we do the inner work to make ourselves different, so that whenever we reach whatever that next destination is, we're coming as a new person? We're going to go into our own opportunities right now for Musaf. You can use the traditional text if you'd like to. You could ruminate and think about preparation, inner work, spiritual development, etc. Whatever is speaking to you in this moment, as we get ready to stand again at Sinai this evening, this is your time to just be in conversation with yourself, in conversation with God, in conversation with who it is that you want to be, as we prepare to receive revelation again. If you're interested in the traditional text, it can be found on page 161? Page 61. Page 61?
Page 60. The Musaf? 150.
Yeah.
185.
That's a real, thank you. Thank you. If you would like the traditional text, it's on page 185.
Shem Yichud Kudsha Brichu Ushchintech Hineni Muchan Umezumad Lekayem Mitzvat Taseh Shel Sfirat HaOmer Shel Sfirat HaOmer Shel Sfirat HaOmer Shel Sfirat HaOmer Sheva Shabbatot Timimot Tiyena Sheva Shabbatot Timimot Tiyena Ayaraya Ayaraya Abayaya That tune that we were humming and singing, this kind of a musical accompaniment to Musaf, was composed by Rabbi Yosef Goldman, a new tune to the words that we say just before we say the bracha for counting the Omer, and appropriate as we're in the last few hours of the Omer to bring that music forward that, at least for some of us, accompanying us as we've been counting it for the last Sheva Shabbatot Timimot, for the last 7 complete weeks to be completed in just a few hours. We'll move to Kaddish Shalem and Aleinu and Mourner's Kaddish.
Yikadav Yikadav Shemei Rabba Ve'alma Divra Kirtei Ve'amlich Machutei B'chayechon of Yomechon U'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael B'agalav Izman Kari Ve'imeru
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Le'ol Me'omaya.
Yitzbarach V'yishtabach V'yishbar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitalei V'yitalal Shemei Rekudsha Leila Mincho B'chata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechamata Damiram Be'ama Ve'imeru
Amen.
Teach Kabbat Slo Tehonu V'Tehon D'chol Yisrael Kodonu V'hon D'Vishmaya Ve'imeru
Amen.
Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shmaya V'chaim Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru
Amen.
Oseh Shalom B'Marav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru
Amen.
We're on 205, 183, or 510.
Eheino, 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 Eheino. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teik gedula l'yotzer bereishit, shelo asanu k'mishpachot ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu k'chol amonam, va'anachnu korim l'shavavim, umodim lifnei melech malchei hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Notei Shamayim V'Yoser Haaretz Umoshev Yikaro B'Shamayim Mima'al U'Shchinatu Zo B'Govei Meromim Hu Eloheinu Heinod 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 Emet Malkeinu Efezulato Kakatu B'Torato Be'adatayim Be'hashivota El Levavecha Ki Adonai Hu
Elohim
Bashamayim Mima'al Be'al Haaretz Mitachat Heinod 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 Hakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz v'hayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Kadisha Tov, Mourner's Kaddish, page 207.
Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah v'yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'agala uv'yizman kari v'imru
Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam le'omei maya.
Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yitromam v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol rata v'shirata tush v'chata v'nechamata damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Before we do Kiddush, I want to wish Yasher Koach to Rabbi Chorny and to Cantor Stone and to Rabbi Schatz, and also to Michael and Eliana Becker, who are not here in person because there's some COVID in the home, who helped with the service together and would have been here to help lead us. I hope maybe you're listening, so thank you. And before we do Kiddush, Rabbi Schatz will tell you everything you need to know about Shavuot and really about everything. She will explain all mysteries.
How long do you have? Tonight we begin at 7:30 on the field downstairs. That will be mincha. There's a light dinner as well as mariv, and then a brief havdalah will lead us into the plenary session, which will start at 8:45. Maybe let's call it 9 o'clock, and the first session begins at 10 p.m. We go all night long, and then at 5 a.m. we will be right up here. Rabbi Kligfeld and I will be doing a nigun and nourishment / ask the rabbi session at 4 o'clock. It's always more fun at 4 o'clock because we're barely awake to answer your questions. So come with great questions for us. And then we will finish up here. I'm saying 6:30. Rabbi Kligfeld thinks there's no way. But I'm hopeful that we will be done by 6:30 a.m. So come and join us. And I think that's it. Tomorrow morning, if you don't stay all night, or if you do and you don't need that much sleep in your life, tomorrow morning there are services at 9:30 a.m. being led by the library meeting, also on the field. Tomorrow night is at 7 p.m. Then Monday morning, we are doing services separately, so we will be on the field, and library meeting will be on Corning 8, both starting, us starting at 9:15, library meeting starting at 9:30, and then Monday night, davening is at 8 p.m. Come at 4 a.m. for any more mysteries to be solved. Oh, say shalom. I'll let you lead.
Adon Olam on page 211. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'enai Nasa B'chefza Hakol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'yacharei kechlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu hayaf ve'hu hoved ve'hu yiyeh betifara ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshil le'achbira be'li reishit be'li tiachlit ve'lo ha'oz ve'amisra na 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 na
Vehu eli v'chagoli v'tzorech eli b'tzara vehu nisi umanos li menat kosi b'yom ekra beyado avkid ruchim ve'eti shan ve'ayira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li ve'lo ira. Please rise for Kiddush. What?
B'shem Reuven Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asod et HaShabbat Dorotam berit olam Beini uven Yisrael Ot Olam Ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz u'bayom hasheni shalach hayin afar. Okay, but Rakha Adonai Yom Shabbat v'yikashehu savri Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'orei pri hagafen.
There's kiddush in the back. There's cholent and something else and fruit in the back.
Happy Poka.
Happy Poka.
We'll have our tikkun in the mufkokar.
Mufkoker. Mufkoker.
I'm so glad you couldn't
I think
hear
that,
the
that's, I think that might be the tower.
Collector of the sheets. Next Hama'alot, they should go in here.
on a plaque and post it in the sanctuary.
Nice, right?
Lovely.
I didn't mention it. I'm sure you all picked up on it. I didn't
A little bit less pressure, you know.